This episode is brought to you by Complete Auto Service Center. I want to share something close to home, literally. If you're anywhere near Richmond, Missouri, and your vehicle needs attention, there's a place that embodies trust and integrity. Complete Auto Service Center. I've known Mark and Amanda for years, and they make me feel like I'm part of their family. From oil changes to engine replacements, brakes to transmissions, they handle it all with professionalism and care. Their certified techs use quality parts, and they stand behind their work with a 36-month, 36,000-mile warranty. But it's more than just repairs. It's about peace of mind. It's about knowing that your vehicle is in the hands of people who value honesty and excellence. So, if you're seeking a reliable partner for your automotive needs, visit CompleteASC.com or stop by 718 Woolard Boulevard. Let them earn your trust, your business, and your friendship. Complete Auto Service Center. Complete maintenance, complete repairs, complete peace of mind. This episode is brought to you by Cutting Edge Landscapes. I've known Brandon Steffen, the owner of Cutting Edge Landscapes, for over 15 years. We've seen each other through a lot, climbed mountains together, served together, and when it came time to trust someone with my lawn, there was no question. I turned to Brandon and his team. Let me tell you, the difference after just one application was truly incredible. My yard went from weedy and full of dandelions to lush and vibrant. It was green, like really green. Also, I fought the bag system for years, never really seeing the results I wanted, but it has new life now, and that's all thanks to Cutting Edge. Cutting Edge isn't just about landscape projects either. They're about building relationships and treating your property like it's their own. Whether it's fertilization, aeration, or seasonal treatments, they tailor their services to what your lawn truly needs. With over 40 years in the business, Cutting Edge Landscape stands by their motto, "Your property is our passion." And after seeing the results firsthand, I can vouch for that. Visit callcuttingedge.com or 816-580-3343 to schedule your consultation. Your lawn will thank you. This is the Son of the Law podcast. Hey everybody, welcome. Welcome to the Son of the Law podcast. I'm your host, Jay Christopher. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being along with us on this journey. We are rapidly approaching our 20th episode. And, when the average episode length of podcasts on Spotify or other platforms is 3, we're blowing the doors off that metric. So anyway, letting you know we're here to stay. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for following us on Instagram. Thank you for following us on Facebook. If you want to reach out, provide some feedback on Gmail, please do so. Son of the Law Podcast, gmail.com. All right. Joining me in my home today are coaches Nate Robison and Ryan Burton. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
I'm glad to have you guys here. We have a lot to talk about today. Just here as we were getting started, baseball is important to me. I'm passionate about it. I grew up playing it as a little kid. It was one of those sports that I had some success at. I like to think of myself as a roly-poly when I was a kid, so couldn't move around too well, but that uniquely positioned me to play third pretty well, or do some of these other things on a young team. I had some really great experiences, awesome teams, had some great coaches, and just now getting to see my kids come up through and play and develop in some of the same ways I did. It's been really, really special, really fun to watch you guys, watch the team. So anyway, just glad to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Okay, I want to introduce you quickly here. Coach Rob, that's what everybody calls you, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Why Coach Rob?
I think early on, people were trying to pronounce my name Robison, but everyone was pronouncing it Robinson.
Robinson?
I think they got tired of me correcting them, and they go, "We're just going to go Coach Rob."
It's Coach Rob.
Which is okay.
That's fair. All right. Teacher at school. Yep. And I was thinking actually, as you were setting up here, you kind of grew up with Joseph Korb and some other people in the area, all good friends of mine, but significantly younger than me. But Lawsonite, local Lawsonite. And we'll give you a second to answer or to tell us about yourself here in a little bit. But want to maybe get some things out that I know. You have a beard game. When you play, everyone loses. And now you've shaved. So this is like a new thing. I don't even know what to do with this.
Yeah. Well, during the season, us baseball guys were really superstitious, and we were playing really, really well throughout the year, and so you're not going to touch that beard. So
Awesome.
it got pretty long, which is a good sign. That's a good sign that you had a really good team and a good season. So.
Yeah, I want to talk about the stats of the team here in a little bit when we can get to that. But yeah, we had a great season, and anyway, you can't mess with a good thing. So if you don't shave that beard, that's fine. Everybody wins watching it grow, and then when the team wins, that's great too. All right, you got a great reputation with kids and parents. Kids love you as a coach. My kids who've had you in school have enjoyed you as a teacher. Kind of sterling reputation in the community. Everybody likes you and whatnot, which is saying a lot in a small town. I think about you as a coach now, and I've kind of, if Coach Nowak were here, I kind of had you guys pinned down like 3 different layers, right? Like you're like the structure and militant guy, right? Like that's like the observable role that I see you playing on the team. Burton, I see you kind of as like the, how do I have it here? You're the logical and encouraging, right? And then I kind of see Nowak as the he brings some humor and, some of the other things. So when you get the 3 of you guys together, it's a really good dynamic where all the kids and all the players get a little bit of what they need to have, that success together. So that's cool. And I like to also think about like your body language. Watching you on the field, I feel like when you're over there at third base, you're encouraging, you're talking to the batters when they're in the box. They know to look at you. But if something doesn't necessarily go right, or if something's going very right, everybody knows, which is a wonderful thing, right? Like you know how something should have gone, and people can read that, and right, sometimes you don't even need to say anything, and they know exactly where they should have been or what they shouldn't have done, or and they've done something right, they can tell because you're super animated and pumped up too. So
yeah, there's good and bad with that for sure.
There is, but I'll tell you, like what I wrote here, just because I don't want to lose some of the thoughts I had before. You can kind of see the trigger. You can kind of see like if a bad play happens or if something happens where you're not necessarily super happy about it. You can just watch you internalize it, and then you can almost just see the decision not to react happen, which is beautiful. And then you kind of march across the field and then have a disciplined conversation with whoever needs to have it, right? And we move on, right? It's not like embarrassing some kid, yelling at him from across the diamond or whatever. Nobody likes that. Nobody wants to see that. That's not professional. And, that's something about the Lawson program that I'm just so enamored with, right? Because very high level, very professional game.
Yeah, we try that, and we preach that to the kids. We teach them, when something bad happens, you gotta. Everyone's frustrated when something bad happens, but can't let it affect you. And then in baseball especially, if that affects you, then the next play you're not going to make the play. And so we try to model that as best we can. Obviously, we're not perfect either.
Oh no, nobody's perfect, and I've blown the top before, and then you just move on and get them next time.
Yep.
All right, Coach Ryan Burton. Your reputation with the kids is also sterling. What are you teaching?
Biology, anatomy and physiology, and dual credit college bio.
Nice. That's a lot of teaching. And I've kind of got a couple of things here how to describe you too. Is I've got you as a slow talker, but I see that as a good thing, right? Exactly what comes out of your mouth is curated for the listener. And I have you, like I said, the logical and encouraging one. I've enjoyed watching you, particularly Coach Powell, over the last several years, because he'll get out there, or he did as a young player, get out there and do something stupid. One of the fun stories was, he's a young batter, maybe he's freshman, it might have been a sophomore year, gets in there, just takes a big old hack at the ball, right? And then you just kind of slowly tell him from first base side, all right, pal, you took a big old crack at it. Now let's slow down and think about it. It's like, Yeah, okay. Everybody gets the point. Well, as the parents, we appreciate it because nobody's yelling at our kid, but at the same time, we're instructing and teaching, and so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I don't know that I always think of myself that way, but thank you for saying that. I feel like I talk quite a bit, but
well, no, that's a good thing. I mean, that's the nature of the game, isn't it? And that's part of the mystere of it. In a game like baseball, where every play everyone is in, and every player has a job in. Whenever the ball's moving, you've got to talk. You got to know where it's going, what you're doing, what your job is, where the play's at, what you're going to do in certain counts. And I mean, know the situation. There's all this different rhetoric and lingo around the game that has to be understood. And you help people do that.
Yeah. Pre-pitch scenarios are huge.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know pre-pitch what you're doing with the ball when it's hit to you, and there's so many scenarios. You hear Denny Matthews. I heard him during when the Royals were making their 2015 run, and I listened to him quite a bit on the radio. Denny Matthews had called games for 50 years at that point.
Yeah,
and he says, "I've never seen that before."
Right.
And so when a guy like Denny Matthews, who's called thousands of professional baseball games, says, "I've never seen that before." I mean, at the high school level, especially, we aren't professionals.
Right.
And we try to prepare them the best we can to play the best they can. But we're going to see some extraordinary situations out there. And you've got to have all of those scenarios pre-pitch.
Yeah. Completely agree. I want to get into it, some of the language that goes into the pre-pitch and other dialogue here in a little bit. But I want you guys to have an opportunity to introduce yourselves here first, too. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe? Born and raised, how people might know you, which we talked a little bit about the community already. Maybe some ties to the Lawson area. Any experience you really have playing baseball? Then maybe something people might be surprised to know about you.
Yeah. So I grew up in Lawson. I became in love with this community. I had a tremendous amount of success with my peers and my friends. I still have great friendships with the guys that I grew up with, and a lot of them stayed as well. I graduated here in Lawson in 2009. I played baseball throughout high school. We had success there. We won a district championship. I then went to Maple Woods and then transferred up to Northwest. And, Lawson still, when I left, it was still right there close to my heart. And so when an opportunity came to come back and help the school, help some programs and help the kids, since I had such a great experience, I mean, I had to jump on that, and I'm still doing it. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. What's something people wouldn't know about you or be surprised to discover?
I'm not sure, because I'm a pretty open guy. I try to, tell stories about my upbringing to the kids. So I'm not too sure if anything's shocking to them. But maybe one thing is I lacked a lot of confidence when I was a kid, and sports was the thing that really got me kind of over that hump.
Really?
And so me thinking of that I always look for kids that maybe presenting themselves kind of like I was when I was their age, and kind of try to emulate and try to get that success built in them so they get the confidence.
Yeah, come out of the shell a little bit.
Yeah.
Brilliant. What do teachers do when the school's out for summer?
Well, I don't know what everyone else does, but like Coach Burton and I, we continue to work.
Right on.
We're working on the fields. We're getting camps. We're up in the weight room. I mean, we're trying to go watch guys play baseball during the summer. So we're still working. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it never ends. It never ends.
All right, Coach Burton, how about you? Born and raised? How about people might know you?
Yeah, I grew up in Hutchinson, Kansas, and in that area, played a lot of ball all around Central Kansas. We played tournaments in other states. Went up to Omaha when we were 12 and got tickets to the College World Series and all that. And it was a great experience. I ended up going to 3 different high schools throughout my time in that area. I started at Buehler High School, which was first grade through sophomore year. And then my junior year, I transferred to Nickerson, which is on the other side of Hutch, and played over there for ultimately one of my favorite coaches of all time. He really had a huge impact on me and my game and my thought process, and really mean a lot. He really means a lot to me, and everything that he was able to teach me. My senior year, my dad got transferred down to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and so I ended up graduating from Bixby, Oklahoma, with 350 kids I didn't know. So.
Yeah, the big schools like that after you've been in a town like Hutch. Well, Hutch isn't necessarily small, but it's not. To have a high school with 350 in a graduating class, it's not Bixby. Yeah,
Buehler would be similar to Excelsior.
Yeah.
Nickerson would be more like Lawson, and it's about 90 to 100 in the grade. Buehler, I think I had 150.
Yep.
So.
And did you go and play ball in college?
I did.
Yep.
I played at Central Christian College in McPherson, and spent 2 years there.
Right on. And then what's something people wouldn't know about you or be surprised to discover?
Well, my hobbies, I mean, I love the outdoors, traveling. I love to travel. I think I've been to 7 countries.
Really?
Yeah. So just love the experience, love history. I just like to see things and experience things and learn.
Well, when we were talking about you coming on the show, you were going through your pictures for some reason. I forget, but you turned around and showed me some big old fish you caught down off the Gulf of Mexico. And I was like, man, clearly he likes fishing.
I do. I love fishing. Just getting out, and there's just something about it. Just you and the water and your pole and just enjoying the weather.
Right on.
It's awesome.
So something our third chair guests who listen to the show like to know about our guests is, we ask about everybody. I missed a few here and there, but how do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
I get 2 pieces of bread. I put peanut butter on both and then jelly on top and put it together.
So jelly is in the middle of 2 pieces of bread covered in peanut butter. Why do you put peanut butter on both sides of bread?
I don't know. I think my mother did it when I was a child, and
you just don't make it like mama.
Yeah, absolutely. So you know how it is when mom makes it. It hits different.
It hits different.
And so I think that just kind of carried over.
All right, how about you, Ryan?
There's nothing special about mine. It's just like an Uncrustable.
He's going Uncrustable.
Well, everything inside. I don't necessarily take the crust off, but it's everything inside.
Right on. All right, do you put pineapple on a burger? Is that okay?
I've eaten one with one, but it was not my favorite.
Okay.
I'll pass.
He says no. I found these 2 to be very hot topics. We'll get a little more on point here. Hot takes, baseball, language, and interpretation. So listening to you guys coach and growing up around the game, you hear these phrases that I think only make sense if you're on the baseball field. So I'm going to give you 3 phrases I heard this year, and you tell me what they mean. And then if you have any others that you particularly like, I'd like to know what they are and why. Baseball never lies. What is that? What does that mean?
Yeah, so that is kind of similar to basketball. But like if a call doesn't go our way or something weird happens within the game, and then right after we make a big play or something big happens, it kind of just means, the law of averages, that's what was supposed to happen.
Okay.
And then we get back on track, essentially. And so it's kind of one of those, we say it to get the kids going, okay, that bad play was over. We made up for it. Now we move on.
Yeah, now you're back to 0 or maybe even the momentum going your way.
Yep, absolutely. That's kind of what we try to make it mean.
Love it. Love it. Eat it.
Don't throw.
What is eat it? What?
Don't throw.
Don't throw. Where would you throw when you wanted to?
So if you bobble, have a bobble, and the base runner is going to beat it out, eat it.
Okay.
Don't make that throw because there's a possibility you overthrow and then have another error.
Yeah, don't let one mistake turn into two.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Read ball in dirt.
So base running. So we try to teach our base runners when they get their secondary to read the trajectory of the ball. And if you know that the ball is going to be in dirt, I'm going to get a little extra secondary, anticipating that to be popping away or getting through the catcher, and then trying to take an extra base. Because in baseball, the team that takes the most bases usually wins.
Yeah.
And so we really try to teach them, read the trajectory of the ball, read ball in dirt, so that way we can take that extra base.
Yeah,
Okay.
and to add to that, I especially I'll say something along the lines of good count for a dirt ball.
Good count for a dirt ball. So like a 3
0-2.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like
I'm
a
going the other way
curveball.
with it.
Curveball,
Yeah.
change up, something in the dirt where it's a pitcher's pitch, and they're trying to get a chase
Yep.
by the batter.
Mm-hmm.
So good count for a dirt ball means it's 1-2,
Yeah.
0-2.
Be ready to run.
Look for that, and like Coach was saying, read it and get gone,
Okay.
get moving.
So you don't have to listen long to hear, and I mean, just in this here, like you're talking about getting a secondary, right? I'm assuming you mean getting your secondary lead, right? Get a first
Yeah.
lead where you get 2 or 3 steps off the bag, pitcher moves in motion, you
Yep.
get that secondary lead, right? These are things that, I mean, you can listen and you can be around this game for years, and the language is just so unique and special. Sometimes it takes somebody like me who's not afraid to ask, like, what does that mean? Like, I'd never heard baseball never lies. I'm like, what is that? And then I kind of surmised it, and you've confirmed it here. But that's the sort of thing that if there's anything I want people to kind of get out of this episode, right, is to just appreciate the game a little more, look at it a little differently. You're not just watching, who scores the most runs and whatnot, but there's all these little micro things that come with it that make it so unique and so special.
Yeah. So all these phrases, kids don't know them all either.
Yeah.
And so it's one thing for us to know what we're talking about, but we really have to teach the kids, what does that mean? What do we mean by, all of this stuff, reading the dirt, eat it. So it's one thing for us to know and say it, but you got to teach the kids.
Yeah.
And
Make
so-
sure they know what you're saying.
Yeah. So that way we can have that communication and they know what they're doing. And so there's a lot of those conversations, especially with the younger guys
Yep.
that we have. And, sometimes the younger guys are too scared to ask or
Yep.
for whatever reason. And they might make the same mistake. And we go up like, hey, we told you to do this. Did you know what we meant by that? And then a lot of times it's, well, no. Okay. Here's what we mean by that situation.
Yep.
So those are those times that you have to teach them, and sometimes our language, even though it's baseball language, isn't the best thing to use, especially for young high school kids that are still learning the game.
Yeah. Haven't been around it, right? I mean, you mentioned you graduated in 08. You
09.
said 09, you said, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, that's 15 extra years of experience on top of the seniors that just graduated. And I mean, there's a lot of life lessons that happen in that language and that rhetoric. So any other particular phrases that you're fond of that you like to use regularly?
One of my favorite things is when they're up at the batter's box. One thing that we tried not to do is, hey, do this with your technique. They don't need to be thinking about technique. All they need to be thinking about is seeing the ball off the barrel of the bat. And so I can't tell you how many times I say that. See the ball off the barrel.
How about that?
And just looking it in, and that also helps you with ball and strike recognition. It just makes it so much simpler, but you're not talking about technique.
Yeah.
You're just giving them confidence. Okay, yeah, I got to see the ball all the way in, see it off the bat, and then I can get going.
Brilliant. Anything else?
Yeah, when it comes to pitching, the start ahead, stay ahead. we talk about first pitch strike all the time. There's a stat in Game Changer that identifies the batting average after a first pitch strike, and it drops by hundreds of points.
Really?
Yeah, it's huge.
I was looking it up earlier in the year, and I think this year when we got first pitch strike, the result of that batter was over 70% out. So just getting strike one, 7 out of 10 of the batters are getting out. So first pitch strike is huge in baseball.
How about that?
Yeah, and it drops close to 80% of the time. Because then every pitch is open at that point.
Yeah.
We can go. I love calling an 0-1 off speed because then they get to 0-2 and it's like, oh, what's coming now?
Yeah.
And
it's coming hot and they're not ready for it.
Are we going to gas one past you, or are we going to slow it down on you again because maybe your 0-1 swing looked awful?
Yeah. It's a cat and mouse game, like every single play or every single pitch, which is again, it's so special. I remember I got to go to one of the ALCS games in 2014. Yeah, it wasn't the World Series year, but you're there. The Royals did win that game, and sometime in the 8th inning, you just look around and you see it's so special because the entire crowd, 30-some thousand people, are hanging on every single pitch, and it's a microcosm of that, but it's still just as cool and just as friendly.
Yeah.
All right, what's your favorite baseball movie?
Field of Dreams.
Okay.
That it might be my all-time favorite movie in general.
Really?
Oh yeah, I love that movie. Actually, me and my son watched that just like 2-3 weeks ago together.
Okay.
So
Field of Dreams.
Love it.
Field of Dreams is great. I'm going to throw a little comedy in there with Major League.
Okay, Major League. Yeah, I started thinking there's only a couple, and then I started thinking, no, there's Rookie of the Year and The Sandlot and League of Their Own. I mean, you can
Bull Durham.
you can just write one after the next, after the next, after the next, and they never get old. So anyway, but those are two great ones. Hot take: baseball or golf is the hardest sport?
I think the hardest thing in sports is hitting the ball in a batter's box. So there's other things within baseball that might not be as hard as golf, but the hardest thing is to hit a baseball up in the batter's box. So.
Yeah. You agree?
I do agree. With growing up playing baseball, golf's the hardest for me, personally.
Yeah.
But that's because I've played baseball all my life, and so getting a golf club and hitting a golf ball a long ways is hard. This question even came to me. I was watching some reel on social media, and this person went in and was just talking to different sportscasters about which is harder, golf or baseball. And they were basically comparing, like you were talking about, Rob, the complexity of hitting, right? One, the ball is stationary, but the golf club has to move like 15 feet to hit one square inch. And in baseball, ball's coming 90 feet or however many, 60 feet, and it's moving, and you've got to turn a hit on it. But then baseball adds the disciplines of running, the disciplines of fielding, right? I mean, there's all the different things that come with it. In golf, you have to make adjustments for the ground level and the wind, and so I don't think there's a wrong answer, but
no, they're both hard.
Yeah,
and they both take a lot of discipline.
Yeah, nobody's saying basketball's the hardest though.
No, I think it's harder in the terms of physical ability and what it takes physical, but hitting a ball, it is hard.
It is hard.
And that's why Hall of Famers hit 3 out of 10.
Yep. We're gonna get to that. What's your favorite baseball snack?
Sunflower seeds, ranch sunflower seeds.
Yeah, I'll go with sunflower seeds as well. I'll take some peanuts too.
Okay. What is baseball in one word? Describe baseball in one word.
Man, that's hard.
Yeah.
Um,
If you want, you can have 3 words if you want.
okay. Humbling. It is the quickest sport to humble you so unbelievably fast. Discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Frustrating.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say life,
Yeah.
because I think it's a game that, just like he said, humbling. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Some days it just doesn't go your way.
Yeah.
And some days everything goes right.
Yep.
And those are the days you need to go buy a lottery ticket,
Right.
because some days just don't go right.
Yeah.
And
So I try to ask a philosophical question before we really dig into some of the content. And the questions that I had here is, in a game of failure, how do you define success? Right. I feel like you guys just kind of answered that a little bit.
Yeah. So if you focus on the failures or the down moments, that's all you're going to think about, and it's going to put you down and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, having that positive body language, we say that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your head up. I mean, just small things like that, and then re-emphasizing each kid's strengths. And if you focus on that and then put them in a position, they will start finding success.
Mm-hmm.
And then that just feeds and feeds and feeds.
Yeah.
But it can go the other way too with the negative. So
Sure.
we really focus on the positive, because each kid does something positive. You got to just keep on hitting that.
Yep. Yep.
yeah, something we as coaches talk about both on the baseball field and softball field is celebrate success.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of kids are frustrated by the bloop single. Well, don't be frustrated by that, because you may have just hit a rocket at the shortstop and he caught it right in front of his face.
Yeah.
Sometime, and that's where the baseball doesn't lie. The game of averages,
Yeah.
and it's going to pay you back in some way, shape, or form. You're going to get that blue pit that maybe wasn't the grand
Yep.
looking.
Not going to make the top 10 sports center
No.
plays or anything like that, but keeps the game moving.
It does.
Yep.
It does. And sometimes those are the biggest hits.
Yep.
Sometimes those are the ones that score the runs and wind up winning you the game.
Yep.
So
But talk about it being a game of failure. The best hitters, like world class Hall of Famers, right? I mean, their batting averages are in the 300s. That means they're failing 60% of the time.
Yeah. And if you talk to those guys, I mean, you can hear it in their voice, the confidence that they have in themselves. And so I think kids nowadays, that's harder and harder,
Yeah.
because they want that instant gratification, and when they don't get it, it's frustrating. And so teaching them how to handle times of failure and then what to do in response to that, it's probably the biggest thing for us coaches, especially in today's high school athletics.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think social media has played a big role in that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to be celebrated. Nobody wants to be on the front page when you failed.
Yeah.
And so it's easier for me to not do it or not try,
Yeah.
as opposed to fail in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And so I think that the fear of being called out on social media or whatever the case is something that's really challenging for people to get over.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll go hot take myself here too. I mean, I think something we do too is we over celebrate mediocrity, right?
Mhm.
You get one little thing goes well, and you act like you hit a grand slam, or you know what I mean? Like, don't get too big. What'd you really do, right? You did one good thing, awesome, but this is the game's gonna knock you down if you get too confident.
And
Next
and
play.
we actually, even some practices, we actually script in failure. Like we'll do fielding where we put balls in play that we know that they're gonna eventually mess up.
Yeah.
And then we get onto them, and so we get failure, and then now we gotta how do
Recover.
we react? And so which we eventually in a game you're gonna fail. I mean, you're going to strike out, you're going to make an error, you're going to make a bad pitch, something. And the best teams end it right there.
Yep.
And they get back on track.
Yep.
So we do this in practice every now and then of, okay, you guys are struggling right now.
Yep.
What do we need to do in our own head? Get that out and then focus on what we need to do. Because baseball is a complicated sport, but we got to simplify it. What's my job on this play? And Coach was kind of alluding to that. You got a job every single play, but it doesn't have to be complex.
Yep.
You know, if I get a ground ball, I go to 1 here. I mean, I got to move the runner over. Just small things like that. What is my job on this play, and how can I get it done?
Brilliant.
Yeah. And another, I think, saying is just next pitch. Nobody can do anything about the past. You can't change what's already done. You've got to let it go. If you hold on to that past, then it's going to affect your future. It's going to affect the present. And that can't happen because, like he says, you got to get over it and move on to the next play. The most important pitch is the next pitch.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about the season that you had this year. You know, Coach, during our end of year banquet, you went through the success that this team enjoyed, and you mentioned that this team wasn't supposed to be very good. And you didn't say it that way. I'm kind of maybe I'm eliciting a response here from you, right? But like, walk us through the reloading and some of the stats from this year's baseball season, so our team or our listeners can get an understanding for maybe how this year went.
Yeah. So kind of what we were referring to is we had a really successful, pretty big class last year that graduated. That had some really good ball players. So a lot of people, especially from outside of Lawson or outside of the program, kind of looks and like, well, you can't replace those guys.
Yeah.
And that's true.
Sure.
You can't replace some of those guys because they are special guys.
Sure.
But at the very, I think it was the first meeting that we had this year during the winter was, this is a program that prides on themselves that we don't rebuild. That's not what we do.
Yep.
We reload.
Yep.
And so we knew that we were going to have athletes. We knew that we were going to have to play a little bit differently to be able to have the success that we wanted. And then it's one thing for us to know it's one thing, but the kids bought into that. They played for the most part throughout the entire year the way that they had to do to be successful.
Yeah.
And it led to some pretty remarkable things. And again, it shocked a lot of the people outside, including other coaches from other teams. But, that we kind of expected it. We knew that we would have up and downs, which every season you do. But these guys just kept on battling, and they kept on improving. They believed in what each other was trying to do, and it kind of showed. So the team batting average was just around 300, which if you look through our order, the majority of the year, not one guy was kind of the sole hitter.
Yep.
It was really, really balanced throughout the lineup 1 through 9. And especially in high school baseball, if you get a team that can swing the bat 1 through 9 and you cannot take a breather, that is very, very stressful on the pitcher.
Yep.
And there are so many games this year where, we weren't really putting up a whole lot of runs early, but we kept on pressuring. We kept on getting runners on. We were stealing bases, laying bunts down, moving guys around. And it just, by the end of the game, they're just exhausted.
Yep.
And maybe they had to make a pitching change, and that's when we jumped on. So again, having that 1 through 9 it's a really special thing. Our on-base percentage, which is probably my biggest stat when I'm looking at offenses. How many times or how often are we getting on base? Whether that's a hit, a walk, hit by pitch, anything like that. We were, as a team, 427, which to me
that's awesome.
That's amazing. I mean, over four guys out of 10 are getting on base. And then that just, again, it adds pressure. It puts pressure on. And so when you're talking about how hard it is to hit a baseball and the nuances of that makes it really, really difficult. And so That is the most impressive stat I think of this team, was how often we can get guys on base, then things open up.
Yep.
You know, we can do a lot of different things when we get a runner on base. So
Yep.
Yeah, you just continue to add scenarios to that pre-pitch scenario when you have base runners on, and that creates havoc for fielders, and it creates pressure for the pitchers, and then they go from pitching out of the windup to pitching out of the stretch.
Yep.
And sometimes that affects their ball to strike ratio.
Yep. Get somebody distracted running on the bases, and
yeah,
there's a lot of ways to win that way.
Yeah, and I mean, even when we get guys on, you know, we've told a handful of runners, you know, I'll motion over, and a lot of the kids actually I've had conversations with, I'll tell them to get bigger off, and I'll kind of point to my own head and point to the pitcher. I'm trying to tell them, you know, we're trying to get in his head.
Yeah.
So get off the base. You know, you're not stealing. You can lean back and stuff like that. But we're always trying to get in that pitcher's head, because if he's thinking about the base runner,
He's thinking about home plate.
He's not thinking about there. So that's where a lot of walks, like Coach was saying, or a mistake over the plate that we can hit.
Yeah.
So that's all. We're always trying to do that.
Yeah, some high level stats, right? You had over 200 hits, I think you said.
I think it was 216.
Yeah, which is outrageous.
Yeah. The only year that I can find that we had more was our Final Four run, and I think it was like 220. So we were right there, and which again speaks to.
And how many games you play in total?
27. We were 27.
Right. That's almost a 10 hit per game average.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hits.
Yeah. No, it was impressive. And again, it's not just one or two guys at the top of the lineup. It was throughout the entire order, which is awesome.
That's awesome.
And I think we played 29 in our Final Four year. I think we were 24-5.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then this year marks the third straight district championship. Yeah, for the outgoing seniors. Did I hear that right?
They won 3 out of the 4 years. So they
3
won,
out of the 4 years. Okay.
So,
last year I guess they didn't, did they?
We won. So we're 2 years in a row. So the seniors sophomore year we didn't win.
Okay.
So, but 3 out of the 4 years winning district, that's a pretty cool thing.
That's incredible. And then total wins or something like that? You said this was like the third most winning.
Yeah, so this
Lawson
is only the
team
third year, and we've had a really good program, a lot of really good teams. This is only the third year or third season that we've gotten 20 wins. So it's a special year.
That's incredible. You know, I mean, and again, in a game of failure, when you start talking about all these metrics, sometimes it takes like the keen eye to look into them and really find that success. Everybody wants to win the last game of the year. Doesn't always happen. Another philosophical question we'll save for another time is, would you rather have a team that wins a championship, or would you rather have like a bunch of kids who come and grow and, become ultimately really good at life? I mean,
well, in my experience, they go hand in hand. We've had teams that had so much talent, but they weren't together. They didn't play the right way. They had poor body language.
Yeah.
And then their record reflected that.
Yeah.
And this year, I think, was a great example. We didn't have a tremendous amount of talent. We were athletic, and we wanted to be good, which is big. But they played together. They did the right things. They played the game the Lawson way, as we like to say. And again, their record and the success, reflected that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, I love baseball. Love the history, the nostalgia of it, the theater of it. And the plays at the plate, the plays at first base, the way the umpire rings somebody up. There's just a drama to all of it. It's like 2 hours, 3 hours, depending on what game you're watching or how it's played, of just beautiful society and culture, just right there unfolding right in front of you. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
So, and baseball kind of has like this like historical past, this storied past, kind of rose with history, popularity right after the Civil War. Got a couple of things here. I mean, I knew some of this stuff, but I wanted to throw in some fun facts, right? Dominated early American media. You know, I mean, everybody now is kind of watching football. They're watching, you know, basketball, some of the MLB stuff. But I mean, there's a lot of people, but all they do is listen to the radio and they'd follow the local baseball team because everybody had one. Slow, strategic, timeless, you know, kind of like generational.
Yeah.
You know, dads teach the kids and the kids teach their next kids. And I mean, there's just this intergenerational sport that just seems to kind of transcend time.
Yeah. And I think one thing that draws, I think a lot of, especially kids, is regardless of your athletic ability, there's a spot for you.
Yeah.
You can play, you know, in basketball, if you can't run,
or you're not
it
tall.
makes it hard. Yeah. If you're not tall,
Yeah.
it makes it really hard for you to do it. In football, if you're not big and strong, it makes it a lot tougher.
Yep.
In baseball, there's a spot for you.
Yep.
You know, it might not be, you know, you might have to be like a catcher.
Yep.
But there's a spot for everyone, every type of athlete out there.
Yep.
And they can be successful.
Yep.
And you can win a lot of games as long as you are playing the game the right way.
Yep. Brilliant. Okay. So I've got several questions here. You know, I feel like we've kind of covered the Lawson side, right? I'd like to get to know you guys a little more, just as people, as players, right? How you came to know and appreciate this game. Again, help to inspire players that might be coming up who listen to this, help to inspire parents and fans who come to games, you know, just to disassociate necessarily with the game that's in front of them and associate or identify with the coaches and the players who are out there as people, and then recognize kind of the beauty of it and help that kind of build and, you know, increase the beauty of what we're actually all getting to participate in, whether or not we're a member of the fans, the audience, or the, you know, the crowd, or who somebody's out there luckily playing. So can you tell us about your first experience with baseball and how it shaped your love of the game?
Well, I know, I vividly remember playing t-ball, and I had hit a home run, and I'm sure I barely got it out of the infield, but in my head, I absolutely smashed it, and I was flying.
Yeah.
You know, my parents were screaming and yelling, and you know that. You know, I'm 35 years old, and I vividly remember that, and that's such an important thing. And I think kids and everyone that plays any sport has something like that. And that's what is so captivating. That's why everyone loves playing and watching kids have success. And, you know, I think that's a cool thing.
Yeah. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to T-ball, machine pitch. We played something called sacket ball at the YMCA. It was a soft little, it was almost like a racquetball that you played with.
Never heard of that.
Yeah, it was something that they had at the hutch rack there, and I grew up playing that. And then shortly after machine pitch, we started with a little travel club and moved around. We played, I think it was 15 to 20 games our first summer, and then we amped it up by 8th grade. I think we were playing 65.
So just loving it, and the growth that comes with it. Brilliant. So as a player, what were some of the defining moments that influenced your decision to coach? How do you guys turn the corner from, I loved learning this game and playing it, to now I want to be a part of it in a different way?
Yeah, I think for me, it was my confidence that I got from it. And I think my coaches, my upbringing really influenced that. And for me, I can do that for other kids. And you know, we say it, you know, we're building men in our program. Yeah. We build men, and we use baseball as the tool to make men. No, we're
forge.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I had that experience, and so we try to have that and coached that to them. And, you know, I like to use that word forge. Not everyone is happy all the time.
Sure.
Like they get frustrated at us.
Yeah.
And sometimes often. But I think building men or forging men, it takes a lot of heat and pressure to do that.
There you go. I was, if you weren't going to say it, I was. Yeah.
You
I mean,
don't always love it.
It's hot.
But I believe the process that we do. Again, we are hard on kids. And I remember having a conversation after a tough loss this year. is our expectations are high.
Yeah.
And we are not going to lower them.
Yep.
That is the standard. We expect greatness is, I think, a phrasing that I used there. And, then the hard part is that greatness, like the expectation of greatness isn't the win-loss. It is how you play.
Right.
Now, if you play the right way, you're going to win a lot more than you're going to lose.
Yep.
And so that to us and to me is, that building of men, great character and stuff like that. And again, baseball is our tool that we sharpen them with.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ryan. You're nodding your head like it's going up and down 3 feet listening to Coach talk.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything he said. For me, it's a conglomerate of things, to use another example of rocks and forging and all of that. But for me, it was just the experience that I had growing up and what I was able to take away from my teammates, my coaches, and in those moments, the life lessons that I learned. Those were things. Every one of us got into teaching because we enjoy kids.
Yeah.
We want to help people.
Yep.
That's why we do it.
Yep.
And ultimately, that all factors into helping kids to be successful in a game that is really hard to be successful at.
Yeah.
And overcoming those failures. We talk all the time about being competitive. Be competitive in everything that you do.
Yeah.
One day you are going to be in a job interview, and there's going to be people with resumes that are sparkling. And how do you set yourself apart? What makes you the best candidate for that position?
Yep.
And those are things that you can learn through the game of baseball or softball.
Yeah.
So be competitive in everything you do. I will readily tell the kids, I want to beat my grandma in Scrabble. I don't care what it is. I mean,
That's awesome.
It's just a part of it, and it's that competitive nature that drives us. And as we grow older, we're no longer functioning in the game itself, but we want to help kids to do that.
Yep.
And so we kind of live vicariously through the kids and continue our love of the game on the outside of the lines
in a new way,
and help the kids between the lines.
Brilliant. Did you guys have any significant or personal challenges as players? And then how did you overcome those? And then how does that impact how you approach the game or coaching today?
Yeah, for me, I kind of already mentioned, but it was confidence level for me.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to figure out, okay, here's what I needed to do to be successful. And then, when I had success, that gives you confidence.
Yeah.
And so it took me a long time because I was one that I think a lot of kids do is I looked at my failures a lot more than my successes. And so when I eventually learned, hey, I went 1 for 4, but I had 3 really hard hits that they just got me out. Well, that's not a negative. I mean, I hit the ball really well. I had a good swing. I swung at the right pitches, my pitches. And so that when I made that hump, that kind of put me, it just took me a lot longer than some other people, but that was probably my biggest struggle.
Yep.
Yeah, I think my biggest piece was my senior year going into it. You put that pressure on yourself to, I had the desire to play in college, and I was putting pressure on myself. I didn't have a hit in the first 8 games, and coach benched me, put a freshman in, and in the nightcap we played double headers, and that nightcap game I got to sit and watch. So
that's a motivator, isn't it?
As a senior, watching a freshman play in the position that I had been playing, that was a motivational tool. Now there was so many different directions I could have gone with that.
Yep.
And I just decided at that moment that, well, I'm just going to I got about a month and a half left of baseball. I'm going to go out and have fun. And it lifted the weight off of the shoulders. And I think that sometimes we see that. Sometimes the pressure, we can feel it.
Yep.
And when you put that pressure on yourself, it's so hard to overcome.
Yep.
And after that, I think we played 35, 40 games that summer. We made it to state. And I ended the season with a 406 batting average,
which is
which
amazing.
included those first 8 games.
Yeah.
And so it was just lifting that pressure.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
I'm glad you said that. Pal and I had an opportunity to talk, and I promise I'll give one Pal story. It's his to tell, right? I mean, this isn't his episode or anything like that, but he had a rough game early in the season. You guys were there. You got a front row seat. He had a couple of errors just outside third, went 0 for nothing, and, was just like worried about what was going to happen or whatever. And we got to have the kind of come to Jesus talk after the game. And it's like, you're going to have to shake this game off. Nobody's going to care how you played. What they will care is how you handle it, right? Next game, he went 3 for 4, had some just lights out and kind of turned it around. And you just watch, that one experience watching him as a dad, your experience that you're talking about, Ryan, as a player, there's a little switch that flips, and it's like, okay, I gotta do something different here. I got to respond to this, and I must be better. And he was, and it was, and you were, and it's excellent. All right. So you guys get a chance to see so many types of players come through your program, right? We're in a small town, Kansas City baseball, small market baseball, not unlike small town Lawson, right? Sometimes we don't have the luxury like a big city 5A, 6A school who's just loaded with, club players, or, they're running fall ball and spring and, winter slam, or all these different competitive programs. So you'll see kids come out of rec leagues. You'll see kids who haven't played at all the way up to those kids that have been played. So when you're observing and developing young players, what are the things that stand out to you that indicate they will fit well into your program?
Well, first off, I tell students or athletes this all the time: talent is overrated, because the kid that works hardest is usually the kid that ends up being the best.
Okay.
So one of the first things that we kind of look for is how hard are they willing to work? Are they willing to stay after practice and get extra reps, get some extra? Are they asking us questions?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, what can I do? Hey, can I play another position to give myself a better opportunity? That is one of the first things. And I know Coach Burton, I think he stays after practice just about every day, giving kids extra reps.
Yep.
Those are the kids that we go, okay, if we have a game on the line, that's the kid that we are going to give a shot.
Yep.
Because he has put the effort in.
Yep.
He is putting himself in a position to succeed. We're going to have that. And then if a student athlete is able to do that, we'll start teaching them technique.
Yeah.
We'll improve on stuff. He's going to get better. But the first thing is, are you willing to compete?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then coachable. Are you coachable? Are you willing to listen? So many players come to us with different coaches' backgrounds as well. Coach and I, we had to figure out each other's lingo when we first got together. I mean, every coach has different terminology. So their hitting coach or their fielding coach or whatever the case may be telling them something very, very similar, or even the same thing, but saying it in different words.
Yep.
And breaking that down and finding that common terminology is something that's really important. And I think that's something that shows our connection and our ability to grow as coaches and as a team.
Yeah.
Is really important.
Yeah, I can see those things, and I've observed it. Right, you hit balls to my kids, and I've seen you stay after and do these other things as well. And I've seen the kid who didn't necessarily have some of those same opportunities their freshman year. You know, they come into the program and they're brand new and whatever. I've seen them make leaps and bounds and grow at a very fast rate. And baseball's sort of like notorious for the slow growth, right? You only really get this was repetition and everything like that. So I've just seen it grow. I've seen the work that you guys do benefit several kids coming up through, including this year's senior class.
Yeah, and that all stems from years before, because we really emphasize between us, the three coaches, of development. We've got to get them reps, and in baseball, you might not get a lot of reps in games.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you're starting, you're only guaranteed 3 or 4.
Yep.
And so practices is our big thing, that we try to get as many reps in that short amount of time as possible so that those youngsters get the reps there.
Yeah.
But again, the kids got to buy in, because they can go, this is T work. It's not that important.
Yeah.
No, it is so vitally important. And, trying to tell young guys, especially freshmen, hey, look at those seniors that are really good baseball players. They're really good baseball players because they took this T drill to heart.
Seriously.
And they did it year after year.
Yeah.
And then when their opportunity were up, they were ready.
Yeah, you're kind of answering my next question. How do you foster a sense of accountability and self-discipline within your team, right? You can only do so much as a coach, right? I mean, the kids have got to want it for themselves. They've got to be interested and willing to grow and develop off the field. They got to develop their body in the weight room. They got to develop their mind mentally, recover emotionally and mentally from bad plays and whatnot. So how do you help foster that?
Yeah, I mean, Coach was mentioning it here, but something that we say is quality over quantity. And what we mean by quality is all of those coachable pieces that we talk about: eyes on the ball, hands in the right position, foot in the right position, just all of those little details. If you take a half cut, you're only hurting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we take 50 quality cuts versus 150 60% cuts, then we are gaining.
Yeah.
Because it's all about muscle memory. It's all about seeing the ball, hitting the ball, and being on time. On time is something that we practice a lot as well, because so many issues come from not being on time.
Mm-hmm.
You get your foot down too early, your back half falls out. There's just a lot of technique issues that come with being on time, and so a lot of what we work on is, first of all, those techniques off of the tee, but then also being on time with it.
Brilliant.
So the accountable piece that you were asking about, a lot of that does come from us. Sometimes you got to call kids out.
Yeah.
When we see kids not working hard, I go, I guess we're not getting better today. I guess the Lathrops are going to beat us today.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys going to let that happen? I mean, calling kids out, and again, they don't like it.
Yep.
That no one likes getting called out, but that's the accountability part. And then the most important thing is when they start taking accountability of themselves and their own teammates.
Yep. We have been very fortunate that we have had guys, the leaders, that step up.
Yeah. Hey, that's not how we do this. We've seen, year after year, and this year was no different, of guys finally stepping up and being a leader and going, that's not the way we do it.
Yep.
And when you get kids saying that to other kids, that's very powerful, and that builds that culture. And that's why we have the culture. So, I mean, the three of us can say all sorts of things. We can say everything perfect, but if they don't buy in and they don't take that own accountability, it will not matter.
Yeah. So, there's nowhere good to answer this, so I'll just throw it in as just a random question. One of the things that make baseball so challenging, I think, for the mental side and the discipline side, is just bad calls. There are so many opportunities for bad calls, plays at the bag, strikes, and how the umpire sees the game. How do you help a player? How do you guys build the mentality around dealing with somebody who doesn't see it the way that you did?
Yeah. Well, again, that goes into, we actually do this in practice. We actually make bad calls in practice to force them to have to retrain their brain. So there's practices that we tell them, like, it's going to be a massive zone today. You're going to have to go up swinging, and you're going to have to make an adjustment. So that it stems from practice and us putting that pressure on them.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just say, hey, you're starting this inning in practice with a runner on second. I mean, so that's not fair.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes
Deal with
it's
it.
not.
Yep.
Are you going to make a play? Are you going to be able to do that?
Yeah.
So we put them in situations in practice, so that way, hopefully in games, they're getting. And I do think for the most part, it works. It helps out for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just umpires are getting hard to find. It's a challenge to find umpires, people who want to do it.
Yep.
It's so
let alone find somebody who's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we as coaches have to model that, and I think we do a pretty good job of just staying calm, cool, and collected, walking up to an umpire saying, hey, can we maybe ask your other partner here, see if they saw it differently. But modeling that, I think, is really important as the adults to show the kids that everybody's going to make up. These are people too.
Yeah.
And we have to let it go.
Yeah.
And next pitch. That's the most important pitch.
Yeah. All right. So what are some of the key markers of success for you in a season beyond just wins and losses? You're going to have a good year sometimes. This year was a great year, marked by success in other ways, right? Didn't win the last one, but won a lot. How do you find success in a year where wins and losses don't necessarily go your way?
Yeah, like I said, we have to always look for success. You might go 0 for 4, but you smoked the ball 3 times.
Yeah.
Well, that's success.
Yep.
That tip your hat to the other team. That happens sometimes, but a lot of the things that we will try to do in losses is when we're in that post game conversation, we're going, okay, here's what we did really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we need to work on because we didn't execute here. And then this is what we're going to do in practice tomorrow to make that happen.
Immediately address whatever.
Yeah. Like I said, we the 3 of us, we complement each other well, and we all have different strengths, like you said, but none of us are going to pull punches. We're going to go attack the problem, and we're going to have a solution. It might not be the best solution. It might not be the best thing, but we're going to have something.
Fail forward, man.
We're going to go, and we're going to get better at it in some way.
Yeah.
And that's, that we don't want to, we're not, if you beat around the bush, you're never going to resolve the issue.
Brilliant.
And so we go attack every problem and try to find a solution as best and quick as possible.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Ryan?
Yeah, I think even we can play a near perfect game, and one of us coaches is going to identify something that we could have done better.
Yeah.
Because we're never perfect, and we can't be perfect. So identifying the little things that we can do to strive to be perfect, or attempt to, is the ultimate goal of coaching, I guess.
Yeah.
And our attention to those small little details, and again, that's that we expect greatness. It's small things.
Yeah.
I mean, we took time out of how do I get off a base? Like, what's my first step off of a base? Like, we try to narrow down and correct every little detail.
Yep.
So that way it becomes just muscle memory. We don't have to think about it. And then we do that. And so the best part is when we see other teams do something wrong that we didn't coach, we go, that's why we do it that way.
Yep.
Because we want to avoid that mistake. So if you just do those little things, it will solve so many other issues before they even come up.
Yep. Brilliant. All right, last question. What has been the most rewarding accomplishment of your coaching career so far, and what do you have left to achieve?
Well, I mean, we're always trying to learn, so we're always getting better. We're always changing our approach. We are, Coach Burton and I, we're sending new drills. We're seeing videos.
Yeah.
We're sending a bunch of things.
Stay ready.
Yeah. In terms of the most rewarding thing, I'm going to steal this from another legendary coach, Todd Dunn, is you won't know how well you did until they are adults. If they reach adulthood and they are successful men, they are great fathers, they are successful in their career, that's when you know that you did a good job. Yeah. And so, we're still waiting. We're
still waiting.
We're still
I love
waiting,
it. I love it. That's great because it's not like it's not wins or losses. It's not how you did here. Yeah, you might have improved or whatever, but
So
let's check back in 10 years.
Yeah,
let's
and,
look.
And if they're successful and stuff like that, I'm going to be so happy. And another thing that I remember telling Coach, and again I stole this from somebody else, is they might not love me now, but they'll love me later. Yeah. And so that's kind of the approach is, tough love.
Yeah, you're not getting paid to be a friend. Right now you're getting paid to be a coach and build a young man and, foster that discipline and growth. And
and I know, especially like this group of seniors, they're going to be successful. They're going to do awesome things. And, when they start having a family of their own, I hope they can look back and have similar memories that, Coach Burton and I talked about. Yep. And they might not remember, that tough practice that, we were creating our own adversity.
I guarantee they won't.
But hopefully they remember, winning a district championship with each other, having a key win, having a big moment in a big game. Yep. And that's what they're going to remember. And that hopefully, again, builds confidence.
Yeah. Love it. How about you, Ryan?
Yeah, he said it perfectly. My favorite coach growing up, I remember we were having an indoor practice and we were just sitting there stretching, and he was walking around and babbling, and he goes, "I don't care what you think of me now. I care what you think of me in 20 years." Yep. And so to say, just in different words, what Coach Rob had said about Coach Dunn, and then just the relationships piece. That's by far the most rewarding. That's why we get into this job, is to help people, and the relationships that you build. Those are the things that you remember forever. It's the wins and losses are a byproduct of the relationships forged, and there's highs and lows, and but it's really cool to get a handwritten letter from a student that says, "Coach, you helped me. Yep. And I learned XYZ from you." And that's really neat.
That's awesome. Well, as a parent of a player who's no longer with the program, maybe the last time I'll have the opportunity to thank you in an official capacity like this. So thank you. Thank you for your work with the program, with the school, the legacy you're building in these young men. I really do appreciate you. Thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for, kind of sharing your wisdom with us and talking us through it. And congratulations on a great season, and good luck in 20 years when you start getting to see how well you did.
Yeah, by then we're going to be a lot more gray, but that'll be the rewarding part, is seeing those guys, and we tell every senior group, you're welcome to come back. We love seeing you guys and stuff like that. And again, that goes back to the relationship that Coach Burton was talking about. We want to see those guys, and we want to see them succeed. Yep. So
awesome. Anything else for our listeners before we let you
go? Thank you for having us on. This was a blast week, and we could talk baseball all day. And Coach Burton and I, we after games, we're up there 2 hours after the lights have shut off sometimes. But thank you so much, and we're looking forward to seeing the new generation come forward and being successful.
I know I'm looking forward to watching it too.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much. This has been the Son of the Law podcast. Have a great day.